Hi everyone. One of the greatest African writers, the late Chinua Achebe, says that until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. I have heard and read several accounts trying to explain why the students were rioting and burning schools in 2021. Most of these stories and opinions are written by former teachers, university lecturers, educationists, newspaper columnists, Ministry of Education officials, journalists, YouTubers, among others. But I kind of feel that the story is lost or incomplete if we don't listen to the people on the ground. That is the students and the teachers who take care of those students. And that's exactly why I am doing this video, so that like the lion, I can tell the other side of the story by reporting directly from the ground. Straight into it. Why were the students rioting and burning schools? Or rather, why do students riot and burn schools? The main reason at 60% is that schools have been disobeying or want to disobey the laws of science. Some people call them the laws of nature. Allow me to say this, that you can disobey all the laws in this world, including God's laws, and nothing will happen to you, completely nothing. But you cannot disobey the laws of science, the laws of nature. Maybe it is because of God's loving, merciful, and forgiving nature, something that science is not. Science cannot forgive you. An example is always good to substantiate such utterances. As I'm shooting this video, there is somebody somewhere in this country busy looting from the county government and even from the national government, and nothing will happen to them. As a matter of fact, they shall be rewarded by the Kenyan voters. They are your next MCAs, next MPs, governors, senators, the deputy president, and even the president of this country. That is how sad it is. There is about 10,562 men and women in this country and beyond who are committing adultery, and nothing will happen to them. Perhaps something may happen to them in the afterlife, and they shall be thrown into hell. We are not sure about that, and therefore we cannot discuss that in this video. On the other hand, when it comes to science and the laws of nature, you cannot simply disobey them. There is absolutely no way to disobey science and the laws of nature. For instance, if you are driving a vehicle and you're not belted up, the moment your vehicle collides with another one, you shall be thrown out of the vehicle because you cannot disobey Newton's first law of motion. When labor pains come in, every woman will tell you, doesn't matter where you are, whether you are driving, whether you are bathing, whether you're in the classroom, whether you are in the aeroplane, in the farm, when nature calls, you have to obey it. There is no otherwise. There is no way to disobey science. There is no way to disobey the laws of nature. The sad thing here is that schools think and believe that they can disobey the laws of nature and the laws of science and go scot-free. And somebody is already itching to know which laws have the schools disobeyed. It is called the Chatelier's principle. It's a chemistry law which states that when a stress is applied to a system at equilibrium, the system adjusts to reduce the effect of the stress. What does this mean? Again, an example is good. Over the years, I've come to realize that examples are the best ways of teaching. And when Corona set in this country and beyond, most people were affected. There are people who lost their jobs. And losing a job is a stress that was applied to you as a person. It is a stress that was applied to you as a system. How did you adjust? Some people moved from a 60,000 rental house to a 5,000 rental house in the eastlands parts of Nairobi, and they were shocked to realize that they can still survive in those places. Some people pulled their children out of schools that they were paying about 85,000 shillings per term into public schools where they don't pay a single dime, and they are surprised that their children are still doing as good as they were doing in those high-end private schools. People reduced the number of times they were eating meat in their families. You may not have been aware, but what you are doing is simply obeying science. A stress had been applied to you, and you had to adjust according to the Chatelier's principle. There is no otherwise. There is no negotiations about that. You cannot disobey science. There is absolutely no way. When it comes to schools, allow me to give you some history. When I was in Form 1 and Form 2 at Chatelier Boys St. Anthony's, I was a scholar. The time for arriving in school was 7:30. When I got into Form 3, I joined the boarding section. And I realized within the course of the year that the time had changed from 7:30 to 7. School system 1, the students 0. You will agree with me that over the years, things have only become worse. And nowadays we have got school buses hooting in our estates as early as 3, 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning to pick children as young as 4 years old to go to schools that are 50 kilometers away from their homes. When we got into Form 4, things became even thicker. We never used to go for preps on Saturdays. We used to sleep and sleep and sleep until 10 when it was time to go and take our mid-morning tea, having forgone the morning tea. But all of a sudden, the school came up with this law that required the Form 4s to be in class from 8 to 10. School system 2, students 0. Again in the same year, that is 2004, the madness of movement by running, popularly called MBR, started, and students were required to be running helter-skelter in the school and even outside the school when coming from the church in the name of saving time. More about that coming soon in my videos. School system 3, students 0. When I graduated from college and started teaching in the year 2011, I noted that in my first station, we would allow students to go out during holidays. That is Madaraka Day, Mashujaa Day, and students were supposed to come back by 4 p.m. in the evening. And to make sure that the students were back in school at that time, we devised a method of having a mathematics quiz immediately or at exactly 4 p.m. But this was banned along the way, and your guess for banning it is as good as mine. One student, he was a student in my class, he came back drunk and he told the mathematics teachers, "Mwalimu, I don't take mathematics." That marked the end of that privilege. But in hindsight, what should we have done as a school? We should not have withdrawn the privilege from all the students because of one student. What I believe we should have done is to ground this single student to never again go out when all the other students were going out. Nevertheless, school system 4, students 0. When it comes to entertainment, a very critical part in schools, schools administrations have clawed back the time the students are supposed to be in for the entertainment. There are schools where entertainment used to start at 11 a.m. on Saturdays and run all the way until Sunday evening. What happened is that the first thing that the students lost is the Saturday entertainment. And even the Sunday entertainment, over the years it has been reduced. In some schools, maybe from about 6 hours all the way to 2 hours. And one of the allegations in Chavakali High School, by the time they were banning their school, is that there was no entertainment in that school. As unbelievable as it sounds, I'm not sure about that allegation. But I'm telling you, students have been on the losing end. Students have always been taking the shorter end of the stick. Students 0, the school administrations 5. I can go on and on, but what I'm saying here is that schools' strictness, regulations, rules and restrictions have piled up and piled up and piled up over the years that they are now from here to Timbuktu. And all of them have one thing in common: to curtail the students' rights, freedoms, and their free time. All this is in the name of maintaining performance and discipline. But like I'm going to be telling us in the next video, there is nothing called discipline. There is a certain belief among the teachers and administrators of the schools in this country that the more strict a school is, the better the performance. Students therefore feel the pressure and the stress is applied on them. And because you cannot disobey science like I told us, they adjust to reduce the effect of this stress by banning the dorms so that they can go home away from the stress, even if for a few days. The kind of stress applied on the students in terms of the school programs is completely unbelievable. And because I told us that I'm reporting from the ground, you won't believe it, that the typical schedule for a school in this country, a boarding school, starts at about 4:30. And believe it or not, there is a teacher at 4:30 a.m. in the morning during the morning preps, and the last teacher to go out of the class is at about 8, 9 or even 10 p.m. in the night. It's a kind of continuous chain of one teacher after the other, and the students have completely no time of their own. Even time for revising is completely not there for the students. And no one should argue that it is because of Corona, because this has been happening since the turn of this century. The reason for all this is there is a certain psychological shift that happened in the teachers of this country, that the belief is now that if you want the students to perform, the only way that they can do so is by increasing the contact hours between the students and the teachers. For us during our time, it is a precious Saturday morning sleep that we lost. But over the years, the students have lost a considerable amount of their own personal time to teaching. And believe it, like I've told you, as early as 4:30 a.m., not just during weekdays, but even Saturdays and Sundays, there is a teacher in class during these weekends. And what is the effect of this? Like I saw in one of the forwarded WhatsApp messages, allegedly from Professor Lukoya Atwoli, is that the children are not getting sufficient sleep. Some are being sent to bed at 11 p.m. and woken up at 4 a.m. Most need 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day, as anyone who is raising adolescents will tell you. It is not laziness, it is biology. Sleep deprivation interferes with learning, makes them lethargic and irritable, and may trigger mental illnesses in vulnerable children. In conclusion, I say that this issue of schools wanting to disobey science laws is the main reason at 60%. The other 40% is made up of different and varied reasons. A few of them include peer pressure at about 20%. You try to ask the students why they burnt their dormitories, they have absolutely no reason. Some of them is because they had the neighboring school burnt and therefore they also burned their own school. The boys are told that there is a girls' school that has burnt the school, and they ask themselves, if the girls can do it, what about we the boys? Pure peer pressure, no reason at all. But then again, peer pressure is scientific. Others include exams at about 5%, poor or change of diet at about 2%, delocalization of the school principals and the change of administration at about 2%, drugs and substance abuse at about 2%, and a few others here and there. I'm giving these estimated percentages because I have seen a trend that schools are now putting more emphasis on drugs, and it is being highlighted in the media and the schools as one of the main reasons. It is not. Students burnt the schools in the year 2021. They have done so in the past. Believe you me, they shall also do it in the future, unless we address some of these issues. Start by obeying science, and the rest can fall in place. Thank you so much. I'm out.